Hello, everybody, and welcome to my video here today. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be going through and we're going to be discovering the effective interest rate method of bond amortization. So my last video that I did was when it was a premium. Now we're going to be looking at this as a discount. So YYZ issued $20 million of bonds on 1/1/21. The bonds have a 20-year term and pay interest annually. The stated interest rate on the bonds is 5%, and the market rate of interest on the bonds was 6%. Using the effective interest method, prepare the journal entry to record interest expense on January 31st, 2024. So the first thing I need to do is I need to value the bond. So on 1/1/21, so in this case here, because the stated interest rate is below the market rate, I know that my cash proceeds will be less than the face amount of my bond. So my bond payable here is going to be at 20 million, and I'm going to have a discount on bonds payable. Okay, and so what I need to figure out is to record issuance of bonds payable. So here what I'm going to do is the value of my bond is in two components. The first one is the principal, which is 20 million. So this is going to be paying me $20 million at the end of 20 years. So I'm going to go to the present value of a dollar table, which is used for lump sum payments. It's going to be 20 periods, because that is the number of times interest is being paid at the market rate of interest of 6%. So when I look at this right here, I'm going to go to 20 periods. Oh, that's the annuity. Here's the present value of a dollar. 20 periods at 6%. So this is going to be 0.31180. So this is 0.31180. Okay, so the total present value of the principal is going to be 20 million times 0.3118. Now the real value of this bond is not in the full lump sum payment, rather what it's going to be in is going to be in the interest payments. So my interest payments, because it is an annual payment, this is going to be 20 million times the stated interest rate of 5%, okay, which is a stated rate. So for the interest payment, I'm going to go to the present value of an ordinary annuity of a dollar, 20 periods at 6%. I always use, if I use this for one, I got to use it for the other. So over here, what I do is I come down to the present value of an ordinary annuity of a dollar. This is going to be 20 periods at 6%, and this is going to be 11.46992. So 11.46992. So the total present value of the interest payments is going to be 1 million times this. So my total cash proceeds are going to be 6.2 million plus 11.6 million, or 17.7 million. So I knew that because the stated interest rate is below the market rate, I knew I was going to have was going to be in a discount situation. Okay, so the amount of my discount is going to be the difference between these two here, or $2,294,080 and $80. So that's how I record the bond issuance. Now, I kind of already had a discussion about the effective interest method, so I would look at my previous video that I did on the premium. But really what I'm doing here is that when I had a bond being issued at a discount, right, my entry, because I was taking the same amount over here every single time, this is what we call the straight line amortization of the bond discount. This is one method for determining interest expense. But for us, we're going to use the effective interest method, which is really about taking the carrying value of our bond and then determining the interest. Remember that our goal is, once we get to at the end of the bond's term, we need this discount to go to 0. So this is how we're going to go through and amortize our discount. So what does my payment look like when I'm essentially making this and when I'm paying interest expense? Well, I record an expense with a debit. I don't know what that is, but because I need to make this discount go down to 0, I'm going to credit discount on bonds payable, and then I'm going to be crediting cash. So I know that I'm going to be paying cash every single year of $1 million. What I'm trying to figure out, though, is each year is how much of the bond am I going to be going through and amortizing, and I kind of go through from there. Okay, so we've got over here, we've got year 1. Well, this will be exciting. So we've got here a total of 20 years. And then over here, my first year is 1/1/21. We'll call this 12/31/21. It's going to be the first time I'm going to be paying my interest. Okay, and let's then do this. Okay. So here's my year. So the first thing I'm going to do, and this is going to look somewhat familiar to you if you looked at the other video, is I'm going to take my bond carrying value. And when I'm referring to the carrying value is what is it being listed on my balance sheet at the very initial amount. Well, the bond carrying value is going to be my bond payable of 20 million less my discount. And my discount as of right now is 2,294,000. So my bonds payable net is 17,705,920. So this is my bond carrying value. And I'm going to go over here, use the same letter references. So this is what it looks like. If I was at a premium, right, my bond carrying value would be my face value plus the premium. That's what carrying value is. What is it on my balance sheet for? So what I do here is I'm now going to multiply this by the interest, the market interest rate. My market interest rate will never change. And here it's going to be 6%. So the amount of my interest expense is going to be the carrying value times the market interest rate. What I'm then going to do is I'm going to compare this to the cash paid for interest. And this is going to be a little bit different than when we were dealing with the premium because the discount is going the other way. So the cash paid for interest will always be the same. It's always going to be $1 million or 20 million times my stated rate of interest, which is 5%. So the amortization is going to be the difference between the interest expense and the cash paid for interest. Now, one of the things that's going to be happening here, though, is when we have this discount on bonds payable, what I'm going to be doing here is I need this to ultimately get to 0. So what's going to happen is I want to be increasing my carrying value. So what we're going to have here is AA, which is my beginning carrying value, plus my discount amortization is going to give me my ending carrying value for the bond. So this is how we're going to go through and do it. And if you go through and take a look over here, so my discount on bonds payable, this started out here at $2,294,080. And so my first amortization is right over here is $62,355. So let's go through and do it for the next year. Because I'm asking you to do this as of 12/31/24, you're going to have to go through and compute these for the first couple of years. So right here, you get this right over here. So the beginning, the ending becomes the beginning for the following year. My interest expense is going to be $1,066,000. The cash paid for interest never changes. And so my discount amortization is going to be $66,097. My ending carrying value, just follow the formula, is going to be this plus this over here. It's going to be higher. So now I come over here to my next year, and I've also gone through and amortized my discount. Remember, this process is kind of the same that we were going through and doing over here, right? Except that in this case, the amount of the discount's always going to be the same. But over here, because we're doing effective interest, it's going to be a little bit different. So again, the interest rate doesn't change. My interest expense is going to be my carrying value times the amount of interest. Cash paid for interest never changes. My discount amortization is getting a little higher. And so I come over here and see this. So as we go through and are going through and doing every single one of these years, we now get to 2024. So over here, my discount amortization is $74,266. So my ending carrying value here will be $17,978. So my interest expense is going to be this $1,074,000. And my amortization of my discount will be $74,266. So let's now go through and see, because of the power of Excel, which I still have yet to master, let's go through and see what this looks like. At the end of the 20 years, this should be pretty close to about $20 million. And it is. We're off just slightly. So if I go through and I look at this, all of these things being added up, and I go through here, and I take a look at how much I've gone through and amortize this by, a difference of $307, so I'm pretty close. But as I go here over here, I want my ending carrying value to be $20 million. And why is that? Because once I get to that end of the 20 years, that's when I have to pay back the principal amount. So this is my made-up question for discount with the effective interest method in terms of determining the amount of interest expense. Remember that ultimately we're achieving the same thing that we would be doing using the straight line amortization. It's just that as we're going through and doing this, there are many who believe that this is going to be a much better representation in terms of the interest expense. So that's all I have for you for today. I want to thank you for joining me, and I will see you on the next video. Have a great one.